Welcome back, fellas. There's no time to waste. We're getting straight into the hands. We are hot. 4 win streaks right now. Today, we're going for our 5th. Let's kick things off by opening up Queen Jack offsuit up over a limp, bumping on up to $15 in the cutoff. We only get a caller from the small blind, and we're going heads up to a flop, so looks pretty good to me. Flop comes down at 10-5-5, 2 clubs and a spade. Gonna kick things off with a small bet here in position. Pretty good board to do it with. Go about $15. And my opponent does continue. We're going to need to pick up some kind of equity to continue barreling here. Turn comes down the 6 of hearts. So I expect my opponent to have at least ace high at a minimum here. And then 10x and then some pocket pairs. Could continue firing, but I think I'm just going to check this one back. Head to the river, and it's a good one. It's the King of Diamonds. A card's going to be a lot better for me than it is for him. I'm going to have some King Queens, some Ace Kings, King Jacks, etc. So when he checks, we are going to go for some value. I bust out a bet of $50. We're targeting ace highs, 10x, pocket pairs, that kind of thing. And unfortunately, my opponent just snaps us off, and he has the King Jack offsuit. Quite surprised to see him float that on the flop. That's not too common at 1-3, King high float out of position there. I'm not saying it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's a pretty good float. You've got backdoors, but most 1-3 players aren't floating it. So I'm going to pick up a read on this guy. We're down $100. We buy in for another 100, and we're right back at it. There's a limp and then a raise to 15, and we look down at a much more playable ace deuce of diamonds. I go ahead and just flat here. Don't really want to re-raise. So I make the call, and this invites the small blind in, and then the limper folds. We're 3 ways to a flop. We do flop top pair on ace, 6-3, 2 clubs, and a spade. Action actually checks to me, and we're not getting 3 streets of this hand, so I generally prefer to go turns and rivers rather than flops and then protect my check back range. And then people just aren't expecting you to have top pair when you check back flops. So I generally like to do a lot of checking, and I think it helps expose my opponent's range a little bit more. So I check off the turn, and it's a really good one. It's a deuce of hearts. We improved to 2 pair. Small blind now checks, and then cutoff now puts it a tiny bet of $15. When I see this, his most likely holding, I don't think he's going to have a 6 here. I think that's going to be betting the flop a lot. He's never got a 3 because he raised pre-flop. So I'm thinking this is a lot of pocket pairs between like 7s and kings that are just checking because the ace is there. So he's basically drawing dead with those hands. He has 2 outs. Raising, he's just going to fold. So let's just call, see if we can get a little bit more value on the river, and small blind gets out the way. Up to the river we go, and it comes down the beautiful 10 of spades. So as played, we only lose to pocket 10s. That's how I perceive my opponent's range here. And then he goes for a bet, tiny little blocker bet of $15. And versus these tiny sizings on the river, I generally just go pretty big. I think I'm just going to go around pot, right? The pot's 96. I'm just going to raise it on up to $100. And then we do this with a lot of hands. We have a ton of bluffs here, and I'm going to be bluffing with every single one of them just because I'm going so thin for value here. I'm going like ace 4 of diamonds here, right? I'm raising super, super thin because I think he's capped at kings here. That's my read on the situation. So we've got a ton of value. We're going to have a ton of bluffs, and we just want to go big because we're just going because he's so capped. Anyways, that doesn't really matter. My opponent just folds, and we do not get some extra value that hand. But that's all right. We've got ourselves a button straddle, and we are not in the blinds this time. It feels so nice to watch 2 other people get screwed over by the button straddle rather than me. And even worse, they're going to face a raise to $25 once they both limp their blinds from my 8-7 of diamonds in the hijack. We had a caller from the button, who's the player from the first hand I played. Small blind also calls, and big blind gets out the way. Big blind doesn't really like playing pots with me. He just gets out of there. Every time that he's limping pre-flop, he'll limp call versus a lot of other players. He is a winning player, plays very weird. Anyways, that's beyond this hand. Let's go to a flop. We're 3 ways, and it comes down jack, jack, 9, 2 hearts, and a diamond. Got ourselves a gutter here. I think it's good enough to go for a small bet. It's $25 is my wager. Button makes a call, and small blind folds. Now, if you remember from hand 1, this guy floated king jack on 10-5-5, so he's going to arrive to the turn with a weaker range than the population does. So when the turn comes down the deuce of spades, it's a beautiful brick. He didn't raise on the flop, and he's going to be pretty wide here, I think, on the turn. We're going to continue firing versus this specific opponent. I don't think we have to go too big, right? We're just targeting like some weak 9x, like 9, 8 of, say, spades. or maybe some ace high, some gut shots like king, queen. So I don't want to go too big, and the pot's already quite big, so I decide on a sizing of $80. Around the size, I'd go with like pocket tens plus. After a little bit of thought, the button gets out of there. All right, got him back. We look down at a beautiful ace-king offsuit with a lot of limps. Looks like there's 3 limps. We're going to go ahead and bump this one up. 2 limps out of position, I go about 20 bucks. 3 limps, I'm going to go 25. We get a caller from the first limper as well as the low jack. Low jack is a very tight player. Under the gun is a bit of an action player. He's a PLO guy. He's the one that we've been playing with a bit this session. Anyways, we go 3 ways to a flop of 10-3-3 rainbow. Neither of my opponents are too likely to connect here. I don't want to check call this hand. I'd rather bet myself and then proceed across some turns and rivers like that. So $25 is my wager. Unfortunately, both of my opponents make the call. So we're heading to a turn. It's a good one. It's the ace of diamonds. Things could get sketchy, but I think if I keep betting here, we're going to bloat the pot to a size that's a little bit too big for them to continue with a 10. And I just don't see them continuing with a 10 here. So I'm going to check, play some pot control. We're going to go for a very big bet on the river if it checks through. Under the gun +1 checks, and now low jack just whacks out a $105 bet super quick. I played with this guy before. He only has value bets. He never, ever, ever bluffs. So I'm pretty worried here, but it's definitely too soon to fold. See, my thinking here is I don't think he's floating ace highs on the turn, on the flop, because under the gun +1 made the call, right? Why would you float an ace high after somebody else's call? Your hand is definitely not good. If you improve, you might not even be good. So I'm worried, right? He shouldn't be betting anything worse than an ace here for this size, especially for a 1-3 player, and he shouldn't really have any ace X. So I'm proceeding with a lot of caution versus this specific opponent, but it's definitely too soon to make the fold. So I call under the gun +1 folds. We head to the river. It comes down the 9 of hearts. I check it over. My opponent snap checks back, so that means we are good. Roll it over. I have the ace king. He had the ace jack suited, going for the limp call pre-flop. Yeah, ace jack suited, limp calling pre-flop. Now you know why I don't feel so good calling that big turn bet. All right, the players are very, very, very tight. I'm quite surprised to see him call the flop. But anyways, picking up another big one here. Guys, we're off to a great start this session. Moving things along, we pick up the nice suited Broadway, queen 10 of spades. There are 3 limps, so my usual size is $20 here. In position, bump it on up. Both blinds fold. We get 2 callers from the last 2 limpers, so we're taking a 3-way flop. Comes down all right. It's king, queen, 5 rainbow. Action checks to me. Heads up, I would be range betting this board, but when you're multi-way, range betting doesn't really exist. Reason for that is you don't have a range advantage 3 ways. It's just not possible. You're never going to have over 50% equity when you're 3-handed. So you can still range bet exploitatively, but anyways, we're not betting our middle pairs here 3 ways. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to check this one back. Turn comes down. All right, we pick up a gut shot now on the 9 of clubs. Action once again checks to me, and definitely time to start betting here. I think we would have heard from a king by now. And if we bet get raised, then we can just fold. So I'm going to go size up a little bit, put pressure on some 10-9s, some flush draws, some pocket pairs, some weaker queen X like queen 8 suited that might be in there. $40 is my bet. Player from under the gun +2 makes the call and then cutoff folds. We head to a river and it comes down the king of diamonds, probably the second best card in the deck other than a queen. I guess a jack would be better. Yeah, yeah, queen or jack would be better. Anyways, king's a pretty good card. It makes it a lot less likely he's going to have a top pair that beats us. So when he checks, I kind of thought in game maybe I go for value with queen jack and then check back queen 10. But then the more I thought about it, this guy is always avoiding playing pots with me. And now he's gone to the river and has a pot that he's actually involved in. I just don't think he's going to be folding. Right? I think we can eke out some thin value, and we're just going to be okay with it when he does have a trapped king or queen jack. Right? Those are the only 2 hands that beat us at this point. So yeah, I'm going to go for some very thin value. I always go big on the river despite going this thin. You never want to bet like 50%. You're just going to open yourself up to getting check raise. This guy is crazy enough to check raise some bluffs. There's just no point reopening the action if you're just trying to get a half pot bet, especially with thin value, because you still need to beat their value, right? So anyways, I size up here, $120. And in about 3 seconds, he makes the call. Oh, brutal. Now guys, this is the one thing you gotta do in this spot. Announce your hand with confidence like you were value betting. I say queen and I table my hand. And he shakes his head, right? I think the confidence changed his cards. That's my guess here. But no, somehow we are good after that snap call on the river. Picking up a nearly $400 pot with second pair. Oh my god, it feels so good to value bet thin once again and not value on myself. Oh, it's been so long. Guys, I think the downswing is coming to an end. I don't want to jinx it, but it's been such run good in the last 4 sessions. I've not felt this way about poker in like a year. It's been 400 or 500 hours, probably getting close to 600 hours of downswing. An entire year of just brutal sessions. And oh, guys, these last few sessions have been amazing. Let's go on to the next hand. I'm feeling fantastic. Our stack is up to $1,000 in the first 20, 30 minutes of play. Let's keep this going. The button straddle is live once again. We have the player from the very last hand who just paid us off on the big blind who limps, and then the player to his left also limps. Low jack also limps and is on us with 8-7 suited. I will be doing no such thing, and I raise it on up to $30. We get a caller from the button who is the action player before the player in the big blind shoves all in for 300. Not even all in, he just raises to 300. And I remember in one of the videos like 2 or 3 times ago, I'm like, I don't really want to 3-bet king queen suited versus this guy because he does stupid stuff like this. He's always doing stupid stuff like this. I think he's on tilt, but anyways, we obviously just fold. We're out of there. We pick up pocket fives in early position, bumping on up to $10. We do get 2 callers, so we are taking a 3-way flop, and we don't hit a set on the jack 7-3 rainbow. Check it over, and action checks all the way through. Turn is all right. It's a 6 of diamonds, improving us to a gut shot. I check once again, and now low jack puts in a pretty chunky bet of $25. Button folds, now it's back on us. I don't really feel like calling here. We're blocking 5-8. Even if we hit our set, like we lose to a 4, we lose to 8-9. It just doesn't feel great. It feels a little bit bluffy, but even if he has like 8-9, he's got 2 overs and an open ender. Or he's got a flush draw, he's got 2 overs and a flush draw. So my heart says call, but I'm just going to let this one go. We've got 3 limps, and we look down at pocket 6s in the small blind. I decide just to overlimp this one, mostly raising, but players are just a bit too call happy at this table, so just going to flat here, try to flop a set, and hopefully somebody else flops something, and we get paid. Flop comes down 10-3, deuce, 2 spades and a club. Kick things off with a check, and action checks all the way through. After the turn, it's the king of spades. No help to us. I check, we face a bet of $10 with a bunch of callers, so we fold. Once again, looking at a bunch of limps. This time we got king, queen off on the button. Much more attractive raise. Given there's so many limps, I decide on a sizing of $25. Only the original limper makes the call, so we're going heads up to a flop, which comes down real nice. It's ace-10, 4, 2 diamonds, and a club. He checks it over to me, gonna kick things off with a small bet here. Pretty unlikely he's connected with this board considering he limp called, so $20 into the middle. And surprised to see him make the call. We head to the turn, it is the 8 of clubs. He checks it over to me once again. And look over the stack, he's got around 3.5x the size of the pot, so you want to go like 90% here if you do want to bluff. I think it over for a bit, and I just think he's not that strong here. You know, how strong can his ace be after limp calling pre-flop? He could have some like 10x of diamonds, which I'm a bit worried about. Could have 10-8 suited. Could have ace-8 suited, something like that. But I think overall, we're going to want to continue bluffing. Our best bluffs here on the turn are our gut shots, king, queen, and queen, jack. Queen, jack's a double gutter. But I think those are our best bets here. We will be checking back most of our flush draws. So I'm going to go ahead and continue bluffing here. I just don't think it's going to be too strong. We size up to $90. Put my opponent deep into the tank. He's giving it some thought. I'm getting a little bit nervous now. I think I'm going to... So my plan here, because he's tanking so long, was... I think it's most likely holding. If he does call, it's going to be like 10-9 of diamonds, jack 10 of diamonds, something like that, or maybe some combo draws. So I'm going to shut it down on a river 10 or a river diamond. Every other river, I'm probably just going to jam all in and hope for the best. He counts out his $90 in chips, and then thinks better of it and folds. All right. Phew, get that one through. This next hand, we've got a limp, and then the player to my right is raised up to $15. I decide to get aggressive with the queen, jack of clubs here. We're a little bit deep. And I prefer a more linear 3-bet range at 1-3 rather than a polarized one. So Queen Jack suited is going to make in the mix sometimes, could call sometimes as well. This time, shows violence. $60 into the middle, button goes into the tank, then folds. All right, an okay result. Okay, we got a raise to $8 from the player that we got that thin value with the Queen 10. I look down at a suited connector in the small blind 9-8. Again, I just don't like 3-betting this guy with these marginal hands. He just will rip like $500 into the pot and then kind of waste a hand. So I'm just going to make the call. We're going to 3-bet hands that we can call off, and I'm calling them off very wide for like 200 bigs. Like very wide. I'm talking like ace 8 suited plus, probably ace 9 off plus, king jack off, something like sevens plus. Just a really, really, really wide range versus this player, and a lot of suited broadways are making the mix. He's just going so crazy too often, right? I'm willing to get in there, take my 60%, but 9-8 suited is not going to make it in the mix. I make the call. Big blind also calls. We go 3 ways to a flop of king jack 4 2 spades and a diamond. I check, big blind checks. He fires out a pot size bet of $20. If I had a little bit something more, I'd be check raising this very aggressively. He raised 8 pre-flop and is now bombing this flop. I'm not buying it, but what are you going to do? We got 9 high. We fold. On to the next hand. We have a raise to $10. I look down at deuces on the button. Only one play here. I make the call. Small blind also calls, and so does the big blind. 4 ways to a flop of king 5-4 all spades. We got a backdoor straight flush draw, but overall not much. Action actually checks all the way to me, so I'm very happy to just check this back. Turn comes down the 5 of clubs. Small blind checks. Big blind now throws out a big bet of $30. Low jack folds, and I am also out of there. Small blind does make the call, and he had ace king. Guys, folding queens pre-flop is nothing at this casino. Everybody has ace king, and it's always in a call range. It's never in a re-raise range, so yeah. Tight game. Anyways, on to the next hand. Got another suited connector. Let's try and see a flop this time. Bumping on up to $10 in the hijack with the 8-7 of hearts. Cutoff and button make the call, so we go 3 ways to a beautiful flop. 10-9-4, 2 hearts and a diamond. Gonna probably bet here most of the time. If it was 10-9 of hearts with a 4 of diamonds, I would be more incentivized to check, as there's bigger opportunities to hit high hand bonuses, etc., and our hand has a little bit more equity. But with this hand, we just want to bet. I don't want to go too big out of position here. $10 is my bet. Cutoff folds and button folds. I mean, we win 8 high, but I feel like we could have won more. Anyways, we've got ourselves 2 limps and then a raise to $20 from the small blind. And I look down at Queen Jack of clubs once again. We're again versus this player with the exact same hand. This time I decide just to call. This invites the low jack player in as well. So now we're 3 ways to a flop, which comes out all right. It's 10-9-6, 2 diamonds and a club. We got a backdoor flush draw as well as an open ender. And I'm happy to see small blind now check it over. I'm going to kick things off with a bet here. Don't want to go too big on this board. $20 is my wager. Low jack does continue, and then small blind does as well. So low jack, very happy to be in a pot with her. She is very splashy. Small blind, I think, can have some floats. I think he could have some hands like ace 10, king 10 that are going for just a check call on this board. I think he could possibly have some overpairs, but I think they're all going to check raise on the flop. And then he's going to have some ace highs, some flush draws as well. So I don't think he's going to have too strong of a hand. And it's really nice when the jack of spades comes down. Improve our open ender to an open ender plus top pair. He now checks it over, and I'm mostly going to check this back. If there were regs, for sure checking this, but with the low jack in the hand, she will call me with like 9-5 of spades here, right? Like, we're just going to get so much value, and I don't want to go too big. Probably just go for a block bet. I imagine low jack's going to fold pretty frequently. Sorry, I imagine small blind's going to fold pretty frequently on this turn. And then we just get to get a ton of value versus low jack for a small bet. And then we can pile in a bunch of money on the river on a brick. So $40 is my wager. Low jack does call. Very good news. And then unfortunately, small blind goes for the jam, $250. And this is just king queen every time. So unfortunate the turn couldn't be a king. It will be a jack. We let our cards hit the muck, and low jack folds as well. A little bit unfortunate there. Maybe go for the check, but I mean, we're drawing dead anyway, so we get to bet $40 and then fold and not get coolered on the river if we do improve to like an 8. So that's pretty nice. In this next hand, the player that just jammed on us last hand has opened up the button to $10. I look down a beautiful looking ace, queen of spades, go for the re-raise up to $40. Big blind folds, and after a bit of thought, button just folds again. We cannot get any calls from this man when we 3-bet. Anyways, keep going. We look down at king, queen offsuit under the gun, bumping on up to $10. We had a caller from middle position and hijack before we face a very small 3-bet, just up to $35 from the cutoff. Small blind now cold calls, big blind folds, and now it's back on us. I want to call so bad because small blind's in the pot, but this $35, I just think it's going to be so nutted. We're going to get ourselves in so much trouble. Oh, guys, this one hurts to fold for such a tiny price, but I think our hand just plays so poorly against what I think his range is. So I make a super disciplined fold. They end up going to a flop of like queen, jack, deuce, rainbow. We would have flopped top pair, good kicker, and they got it all in like a bet, and then it just jammed for like $300. It was 3-better had aces. The lady had queen, jack offsuit for top 2. We would have been smoked. I don't think we lose much money though. We'll lose an extra 25, but nice to avoid that trouble, that tough spot. We've got a raise to 16 from early position. Hijack has called, and I look down at pocket 10s in the small blind. Sometimes squeezing, sometimes flatting. The under the gun +2 players sitting on like 300. So if we squeeze, get jammed on, we have to fold. It doesn't feel great. We're out of position. I think I lean tiny bit more towards call in this specific spot. So that is what I do. And then big blind gets out the way. We're 3 ways to a flop. Comes out really nice for pocket 10s. 6, 4, 3, 2 clubs, and a spade. I start with a check. Under the gun +2 bets out for $30. Quite large. Hijack now overcalls, and now it's on us with the 10s. And I don't think he goes this big if he's got like kings or aces here. This kind of feels like a vulnerable overpair, like 7s, 8s, 9s kind of thing. That's just my read. I could be completely off. He could just have whatever. But I think 10s need a bit of protection here. We do have the club to back us up. And we don't mind getting in with the hijack player. So I'm going to go for a raise. I don't want to go too big. I still want to keep his 7s, 8s, 9s in the mix, his ace 6 suited, etc. So I'm just going to go for a raise of $100. Just tiny little bet. Now it's back on the under the gun +2 player. Really hoping we don't get jammed on. It'll be a really nasty spot and would require a bunch of brain cells to figure that one out. But after a bit of tanking, he decides to fold. Hijack, waste no time, shoves all in for 129. We obviously make the call. We head to the turn. It is the deuce of hearts. Pretty Pocket 5s now beat us. But no longer on the river when it's a 5 of clubs. But unfortunately, we are now chopping with every single hand, except for 8, 7 of clubs. Yeah, he is going to win that one. 339 going over his way, but we're still up 150 for the day, so no complaints here. Button straddle is live. Big blind has limped. I look at pocket 7s in middle position, and I will be doing no such thing as limping. I raise it on up to $20, and unfortunately, we just take it down pre-flop. We once again have a couple limps, and I look at ace queen offsuit in the big blind, bumping on up to $20. Cutoff does make the call. Small blind folds. We are heads up to a flop, which is okay. It's ace 5-3 rainbow. These ace low boards are generally the worst ace high boards of them all. But anyways, not going to stop us betting here. Against a very good player, I would be checking ace queen, probably mixing checks with ace queen. But versus this guy, we are going to go for the bet of $20. Unfortunately, just take it down there. We have a beautiful looking pocket kings. Player to my right has raised up to $10. I go for the 3-bet for the 3rd time this session against this poor guy. $35 is my raise. Holds rounds the other side of the table. We get a cold caller from the big blind. And now middle position goes into the tank. And then announces a raise up to $120. Really dicey spot at 1-3. I know what you guys are thinking. Oh, dream spot. So good. We got kings. We got 4-bet. Woohoo! Not at this casino. But I have folded queens pre-flop twice this week. And now expected to fold kings pre-flop in the same week? I don't know if I can do it. I give it some thought. And this is my thought process. We've 3-bet this guy twice already. He could be taking a stand. This could be ace-king. Could be queens. You know, maybe. We are 3-betting him a lot. Those are things that are going on. Just trying to get me to 5-bet shove here. My heart. Oh my god, all I want to do is fold. I just want to send these cards straight in the muck, delete the recording so I don't have to read your comments. But the voice in the back of my head, it could be queens. We can jam, he'll call queens. He'll might call ace king. And then after about a minute or two of tanking, I don't think call is really an option here given how shallow we are. I mean, not the worst thing ever, but I don't know. Maybe we get away on ace X boards when he flops top set. But I just think this is aces every time. Like, in this entire challenge, I saw one 3-bet that wasn't like... I saw one 4-bet that wasn't aces, and it was just like a young Asian guy who like 4-bet ace-king into an old man coffee who somehow also had ace-king when I also had ace-king. Which is quite unfortunate. But this is just aces, man. It's just aces. All right, guys, let's go. We decide to rip it all in. Big blind folds. He snap calls. He has pocket aces. God damn it. There goes all our profits for the session. But he says, don't worry, it's not over. Flop comes down. King 5-4 rainbow. Oh my god. Turn comes down. The 6 of spades, river. Deuce of clubs. And we managed to crack pocket aces for a nearly $1,000 pot. Guys, I wanted to fold that so bad. So bad. But it works out very well for us in the end. And now we're having an incredible day with a $1,300 stack after getting super lucky there. Let's keep this going, guys. We're going to open up the pocket fours under the gun to $10. We get quite a few callers. We're taking a 5-way flop. Can we hit another set? Comes down 9-6, deuce, 2 clubs, and a spade. That's all right. We already hit the set that is most important. So I'm just going to kick things off with a check. Cutoff bets out for $20 when it's back on us. I really want to check raise, but I decided in game I would check raise with the 4 of clubs and then just fold all these. I just don't want to be going too crazy, so I'm going to have to limit myself. You know, it's like rationing my bluffs. So we fold. What a beautiful day this is. So many button straddles, and we're never caught in the mix. We've got a middle position limp. I look at ace jack off on the low jack, bump it up to $20, and unfortunately everybody just folds. Button straddle once again live. We have a small blind limp. I look down at 4-3 a diamond middle position. One of my favorite hands to play. I bump it on up to $20. We got the crazy guy from the cutoff to call, and then small blind calls as well. We're taking a flop 3 ways. Comes out quite nice. It's jack, 6, deuce, rainbow with the diamond. We got a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw. Small blind checks, and definitely going to bet here, $20. Cutoff now snap raises it up to 80. This guy is just so annoying to play with. This is like absolutely nothing, but I really want to raise him here. Like make it 140, but then he just might like jam 7-8 in my face. He's not going to think about it. I'm just going to raise up to 140. He's going to go all in. He's going to have like 8 high. He's done it before, and I called a top pair, and it was good. But yeah, just going to fold. If I was in position, I would call this, but out of position, we're going to check it over. He's just going to blast 300. He's going to jam like for 400 on the turn. So yeah, we're just going to fold this. It really sucks. But yeah, I don't want to waste $120 trying to play mind games with this guy. We're going to open up the king jack offsuit in early position up to $10. We do get 3 callers where you're taking a flop 4 ways, which comes down okay. It's queen, 6, deuce, rainbow. Small blind checks, and I think I'm going to go for the check raise here depending on their bet sizes. Middle position puts in a bet of $10, button calls, and after button calls, I'm really not looking to check raise too often. She is so sticky. She will call so often here. It just makes this a lot less likely to get through. And then big blind steals my spot anyways by check raising up to $40. So we are out of there. And just to illustrate the point, middle position folds and button calls. Button had ace deuce offsuit and big blind check raised 6-5. So he knows the spot too. And then they just check it down to the river. The 6 is good. The under the gun straddle is live. There are 4 limpers. And we decide just to call with the 4s. I don't really want to raise. We're going to go 2 multi-way. We're out of position. In position, I'd definitely raise. But here, let's just try and flop a set and stack someone. We go 6 ways to a flop of ace, queen, 3, rainbow. So close. Action checks the button, who fires out for $30, and we obviously fold. So many pocket pairs today. This time we have 5s in middle position. I open it up to $10. Only the hijack makes a call, so we're going heads up to a flop. which comes down 5-4-3 rainbow. That is top set. On these kind of low boards out of position, I really like going for the check raise, and I played a lot with this player. Any hand that he has that will call a bet will also bet itself. So if he has ace high, he's going to bet. If he has a pocket pair, he's going to bet. If he has king 6 suited, he's going to bet. All these hands are going to bet that will call a bet anyway. So I would rather go for the check raise against the exact same range. And this also lets him improve if he has like 10-9 that would just fold to a bet, that he could improve to top pair on the turn. So we check it over. Unfortunately, he just checks back. Turn is a disaster. It's the worst card in the deck, the deuce of diamonds. So now any ace beats us. Not too worried about an ace because I think he bets a lot of them on the flop, but still just going to check it, and unfortunately checks back. River is the queen of clubs. All right, let's hope he hit queen jack or something. I go for bet of $10, and we get no value, unfortunately. We've got a beautiful looking ace king offsuit under the gun, bumping on up to $10. We get 2 callers, so we're going to play this pot 3 ways out of position on a beautiful king 6-3 rainbow flop. Going to kick things off with a small bet here, $10 into the middle. Middle position folds, and button makes the call. Off to the turn, it's a very nice one, the deuce of spades. 5-4 did get there, but I'm not too worried about it with this player. And on these bricks, you generally want to go for some very big bets. And I think it makes a lot of sense in this spot too. If button has a hand like pocket 7s or 6-7 suited, something like that, he's just going to fold to a normal size bet. If I bet 30, he's going to fold. So I want to target his king, queen, king, jack, king 10, his top pairs, and try to cooler them for as much as possible. So we're going to go for the overbet. It makes sense on brick turns anyways, so I go for $75. Unfortunately, it looks like he just had one of those foldable hands because that hits the muck. We open up the 5-4 diamonds under the gun to $10. Under the gun +2 calls, and the player from last hand who folded the turn goes ahead and 3-bets us, but it's only to $30. Very, very, very small raise. These hands play extremely well against a typical 1-3 player's 3-bet. Right, 7-6, 5-4, 4-3 suited, all incredible hands, as well as small pocket pairs. Those are the hands you want to be calling these 3-bets with, not king jack or queen jack suited. Those hands perform terribly at 1-3 versus a 3-bet. So always remember, lower suited connectors, just fold your suited broadways. But versus this size, I'm going to call queen jack suited. Right? Anyways, we make the call on the gun +2 folds, heads up to a flop, which is okay. It's ace king 3, 1 diamond. We got ourselves a gutter to the nuts, and then a backdoor flush draw. So I check. We face a 1/3 bet. I don't really want to raise on this board, so we're just going to go ahead and call, and we're going to try and bluff some rivers if he starts checking. Right? If he's got queens, jacks, 10s, they're all going to check the turn. If he's got king, queen, they're going to check the turn. So yeah, we're going to be able to bluff a lot of rivers. Turn comes down the jack of spades. Not a great card. I think he's going to improve quite often here to at least pair plus gut shot. So I check and plans check fold, but he just checks behind. River comes down, the queen of hearts. We really should be bluffing here. This is like bottom of our range. But that thing does not matter in live poker. I give it some thought. And I just think every single hand here is so strong for him. He's got at least 2 pair here, I think, with almost his entire range. Right? He's going to have maybe queen jack suited, king queen suited, king jack suited, ace jack, ace king, ace queen. He's going to have some sets like jacks and queens. He's going to have some straights with like ace 10, jack 10. Like every single hand in his range is so strong. So as much as I really want to bluff this, I think this is one of those rare instances where I'm not going to bluff river with a hand that I intended to. So we check it. He snap checks back. I tell him he's good. And he has ace 9 suited, which I was very surprised to see. Yeah. Maybe he folds that hand, but that's like the one hand. I'm actually quite surprised he 3-bet that. On to the next one. We've got ourselves another pocket pair. There's a limp, and this time I am definitely going to be raising it. I bump it on up to $15. We get 3 callers, including the limper, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Or unfortunately, we flop an under pair to the king, jack, 7, 2 hearts, and a spade. Definitely not betting here. I check. Button puts in a bet of $20. My goodness, I want to raise this so bad. But no. I'm just not checking enough value, considering there's only button left to act. So I want to be somewhat balanced. So I just fold. And folks, with that, we lock up our 5th consecutive win in a row. It's been going so well. We were in the game for 600. We cashed out for $1,208. That is a big old win of $608, 200 big blinds over 6 hours. Absolutely love it. We were down $1,914 in the challenge. We are now only negative 1,306, guys. The how to get even at 1-3 challenge is almost done. And then from there, we will try and build up to 10K. We're on episode 13, and we're still down $1,306. Just shows how rough variance can be sometimes. But feeling good, guys. That's 5 wins in a row. We're definitely due for a loss at some point, but hopefully we can keep this run going into next week and the week after. I'm enjoying playing poker again. These have been some very fun sessions. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking around. Please hit the like button. Let me know if you like the camera again up here. Really enjoying doing it. Yeah, guys. Catch you all next week. Bye.